Hey, so everyone, this is my sister Carol, and she's so kindly offered to come on and just chat about her walk with cancer and share some valid information. I think her journey has been so inspiring to me, and I have learned immensely from you. And I just know whoever's watching will also learn. So thank you for your time. Thank you for allowing me to video you, because I know this is not your comfortable space.
Not really, but thanks for the opportunity, and thanks for letting me tell my story and get it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what we both wanting, is to just encourage those that are maybe walking the same road. So let's jump right in and ask you. My first question for you is, everybody needs to know just a little bit about your cancer, what type of cancer you have, and your diagnosis and your symptoms. How did they present, and what led you to finding out that you had cancer?
So I think, well, let's start with the diagnosis first and get that out the way. I've got a really rare type of cancer. It is called a retroperitoneal sarcoma. And basically it grows in your fat tissue in your abdomen, in the spaces of your abdomen, and around your organs. So it's quite rare. I think in terms of what led me to getting a diagnosis like that, which I think firstly, anybody who gets a cancer diagnosis is not prepared for it. It's quite a devastating shock that hits you. And I didn't think I had cancer. I thought I had an autoimmune condition. I was presenting with various symptoms like Raynaud's phenomenon. I had a droopy eye. I had a tremor. And I knew there was something wrong. I think the biggest thing that was a warning sign for me was the fatigue and these weird autoimmune-like symptoms. And so my body was sending signals. It was telling me something's wrong. And I went to a few doctors, and I found a doctor who was determined to help me find the cause. He thought it was a neurological thing. And so he booked me into hospital, and we had to do a CT scan as part of the investigations for autoimmune. He thought it was a neurological autoimmune, and he was going to CT my chest to look at my thymus gland, which sits in the middle of your chest. And he said, we both said, let's just do a full body CT scan. Then he told me I had an ovarian mass, and I was referred to a gynae. And then the gynae told me my ovaries were absolutely fine, which was great news that day. And she said, and then then there was a medical team put together to try and investigate what this mass was. And they decided they needed to get eyes on it. And the only way to do that was to put a camera into my abdomen through a procedure called a laparoscopy. And when they were there, they said, oh, this is definitely not a gynae thing. It is either a sarcoma or a neuroendocrine tumor. And they did a few more tests, and then I was booked in for surgery 4 or 5 days later. So I think the big thing is the symptoms I had was warning signs. I wasn't prepared for any diagnosis. I wasn't expecting anything, but my body was sending these little signals to go, something's wrong.
Yeah, I remember you calling me, and you were in hospital, and I remember you were desperate because no one could give you an answer, and you knew something was wrong, and you were just like, Jenny, please just pray that they find out what's wrong with me. There's something wrong. And I think that is so intuitive of you, and also knowing within ourselves that there's something wrong within our body and seeking that, you know.
I think I remember that message when I sent it to you, because at that point I'd been in hospital undergoing a lot of tests, and I think it was about day 3 in hospital, and the physician came and sat on my bed, and I said, you're going to tell me everything's normal? He says, all your tests are coming back normal. So all my blood tests, everything was 100% normal, and I knew something was wrong. So you got to dig quite deep to sometimes find your answers. And you need an advocate on your side. And I think my doctor that I had, believe me, he could see the tremor, he could see the drooping eye. And even though all the tests were normal, he wasn't prepared to stop investigating until he found the answer. So you've got to find a medical person who will help you as well and believe you. Because 5 years previously, the doctor told me my weight loss was all in my head. So you've got to find the right advocate. And if you don't like your doctor, move on, get somebody else.
Absolutely. I think that's very wise. I've heard that so many times with other people. If your doctor is not supporting you and listening to you, change doctors. So thanks for that.
Exactly.
That's real wisdom. Can you tell us a little bit more about the treatment you had? You've already mentioned that you did have surgery at that stage.
Yes. So I was told that the only way was, everybody was telling me, get it out. You've got to get this thing out of you. And so they referred me to a very skilled surgeon who had dealt with sarcomas before. So he did what's called a laparotomy, and they cut me from my chest down to my pubic bone and removed the tumor. So that was the first phase of treatment. I then started. I had a 6-week post-surgery recovery, and that was when you came out to visit me, and we had a fantastic time together. And then I started on chemo. Now, for this type of cancer, there's I suppose a cookie cutter approach where they go, this is the cancer, this is the chemo. And I was a bit discouraged by the chemo side of it, because the chemo was a 5-day in-hospital treatment. It was 5 days of continuous infusion. And it was 30, 40, 50 years old was the chemo treatment I was on. So after my second cycle of chemo, I had a chat to my oncologist, and he suggested doing genomic sequencing on my tumor. And that's a custom approach. And I think if I can also just share that information with people, if you don't know what to do or you're getting chemo, consider genomic sequencing. They basically take your tumor, they grow it in a petri dish, and then they see what it responds to. And it changed the chemo treatment as well for me. So I had a third different cycle of chemo, and it introduced us to targeted therapy as a potential approach. So after the third cycle, I said enough for chemo. It was too brutal. And I'm going to do this so that everyone can see my hair is growing back nicely. Just wearing the hat just because I'm more comfortable with it, but now you can see I've got hair. And I started targeted therapy 2 months ago. I am on a therapy that is not approved for sarcoma, but came up in the tests that it was recommended. The therapy itself is actually used in breast cancer. So we're experimenting, and I think the good news is that I've been on the treatment for 2 months, and I had a scan last week, and it shows that I don't have a recurrence, which is good news. So I take that tablet twice a day, every day.
Yeah, thanks. That's such great information. And for those listening out there, I think it's just so great that you can share this. And I think on that note, just so proud of you being a science nerd, because all the research you've done is paid off up until now. And I was just thinking while you were sharing that, you know, you had that operation, which was brutal. And the chemo you said was brutal. You know, we've talked about this a lot. Just the fact that your oncologist and your whole medical team came alongside you and supported you was great. But I know we've also shared a lot of information with each other, and me now as a health coach, the fact that there was such a lack of knowledge with supporting your body along the side of that operation and then going into chemo in nutrition. And, you know, I know that in oncology rooms, I've been there with Garth before, they serve coffee and sugar, and cookies. we've spoken about this, but just maybe tell us briefly the research you did, because you've been so good at doing your own research, and how you supported your body going into chemo, and then maybe a few things of what you did through the chemo. And I know you've done a lot, and we could be here all day with you sharing it, but maybe just a couple of things that have helped you, that you feel have benefited you.
Yeah, so I think that's key. I think you are your own advocate when it comes to things, and the oncologists they just follow a traditional path. But there's a lot of natural medicine out there that is currently being researched. And I think I became the science nerd. I read every paper I could, and I probably know more about retroperitoneal sarcoma than my oncologist, because it's so rare. He probably doesn't have any other patients with it at the moment. And I think a few things that I discovered in my research that was really important to focus on was to equip my body first and foremost. And to do that, it's to focus on alkaline things and remove anything that's acidic. So some things that I did choose to remove out of my diet were things like red meat, dairy, smoking, and that was hard. Smoking, I still struggle with that. I'll be honest with everybody. It's probably been the biggest sacrifice that I've had to make. And by nature of association, I gave up coffee as well, because smoking and coffee for me always went hand in hand. And so I focused on alkaline. I then also looked at nutritional support, so that, as I was going through the treatment, my body was equipped to face what I was throwing at it. And I was throwing a lot of chemicals at it. So, adding in juicing, green juices became my go-to, smoothies. And Jen, I never really been a great smoothie or juicer at all. And pretty much ate whatever I felt like during my life. So now I abstain from a lot of things that I love, smoking being one of them. But also, chips and things that I just don't believe will support my body through this treatment. So I've become a pescatarian. We joke at home and we say, "Are you Presbyterian?" And I'm like, "No, not yet." I'm a pescatarian. So I only eat a bit of fish about 2 or 3 times a week, and the rest of the time it's vegetables with beans, and I get my protein through various different sources. And I also looked at supplements. So for me, one of the golden supplements that everything I was reading on that was just saying you have to take very high doses of it was omega-3s. And I think you helped me, Jen, get some of that from Neolife, and I take massive doses of omega-3. I also take cruciferous and carotenoids. But over and above that, my research led me down quite a scientific path, looking at pathways and what pathways would block my cancer. So there's various things I've added, like alpha lipoic acid, CoQ10, and I take possibly 20 to 30 tablets every morning and every night. So about 60 tablets a day. It's a challenge because they've got to all be in sequence. In terms of my targeted therapy, there's got to be a certain period of time between my supplements and my targeted therapy and before you eat. And so it's been quite a journey and balancing act. And I did initially also do intermittent fasting quite regularly. I've had to pause that because I'm losing weight. So I need to keep my muscle mass going. And so I've paused the fasting, but I do recommend anyone who has got cancer, please look into intermittent fasting and intravenous vitamin C. Those are 2 things. And omegas, take your omegas. Yeah. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, I just think that's such great information, and thanks for sharing that. On the omegas, it's one of my favorite products, and I know you being sick with cancer, you said something absolutely very valid. When you are sick, supplements need to be taken in in excess, but when you are healthy, you have to continue taking a smaller dosage. Prevention is better than cure.
Absolutely.
And we came alongside you trying to boost your body, support your body with whole food nutrition. And that's where supplements came in. I remember with Garth, juicing, and my hands were orange from desperately trying to get the nutrition in, but realizing I can't get in enough polyphenols and carotenoids. So that's where the supplements come in. And I think you said something very important. In order to get enough in, you have to take a lot of supplements. And I think knowing the benefit of omegas, knowing that Neolife is clinically proven to reduce inflammation by 68% in only 8 weeks was hugely beneficial for you. So thanks for that information. I'm a huge believer in omegas. We use it for a headache or anything that's part of our medicine.
Yeah.
But
and Jenny, sorry, can I just
changed your whole way of life? The fact that you said, you've taken 20, 30 tablets. I just want to say it is phenomenal watching you and what I work with clients to change in months and months and months. You changed overnight, bearing in mind you did it to survive. You want to live. So sorry.
And I think that's it. I think that the key is you do have to invest in your supplements. You do have to spend money. But what is the price of life? And none of us know that answer. And I just felt that it was really important that I equip my body. I think the other thing that I also wanted to mention, and maybe just anecdotally just share a story, after my first cycle of chemo, I had a very bloated stomach and was incredible discomfort. In fact, I was worried that the tumors were back. I was extremely concerned. And I saw the doctors and they sent me off for ultrasounds and x-rays and all sorts of tests. But not at one point did any of them say gut health. You need to think about gut health in this journey because obviously the chemo annihilates your gut. And so, I looked extensively and how to support my gut and probiotics and taking things like acidophilus and things like that were hugely important to soothing an inflamed gut.
Yeah.
I just wanted to also add that to anyone listening. Look after your gut during chemo. It's really, really important.
Yeah, love that. Yeah. So, question, what do you feel has really helped you get through this treatment? What do you feel has supported your body the most? You've mentioned your diet and supplements. Is there anything else from a holistic point of view that you can mention?
Yeah, look, I think when you get a cancer diagnosis, especially something as rare as what I've got, and the research got me down. It was, when you look at the studies, they're not looking at 5-year survival rates. They consider a successful study at 12 weeks, and it's like it gets you down, and it's overwhelming. So I think one of the things that I would recommend, one of the things that I've done is don't stop living. There's still so much living to do despite cancer. I have a list at the moment, and it's my wish list, but it has created so much energy in our lives, and we're pursuing going to every nature reserve in the Western Cape. Now there's a lot of nature reserves in the Western Cape, so we've got our next 30 weekends completely planned. So continue to live and do things that maybe in the madness of life and always being busy and work and home and kids and whatever you're facing, you forget to live. So I think my cancer diagnosis has taught me the importance of being in the moment and living my life as much as I can. I don't know what tomorrow will hold for me. None of us do. And I think because none of us do, we need to live as if now is all we've got, and make the most of every moment, and live life. Do what you love. I love being out in nature, and I do that a lot. I think that's been key. It's also important to stop researching at a certain point. I remember, Jen, you were like, Carol, will you stop reading all these articles?
Well, they're so gloomy. The news, it's just too much noise, you know.
I had to read it. I had to navigate through it because I learned a lot. I learned about my pathways and I navigated through it. But stop. There's some fabulous Facebook groups out there. I do want to mention one. It's Always Hope Cancer Protocol. There's 10,000 members in that group. It's not specific to my cancer, but that group has filled with amazing people who've offered me so much hope. And I think that's what you need when you have a cancer diagnosis, because everybody thinks that it's a death sentence. And the reality is there is hope. And every day you live is a day that you've lived through hope. So I think that would be it. Find what you love and do what you love, because you don't know what tomorrow holds.
Absolutely. And I think you're doing exactly what we spoke about when I came to see you. You are living with cancer, but you're not dying from cancer, and you're making that list, and you are hopeful in doing that. And that gives you hope, those nature walks. I just wish I could be there with you to do all those walks. So
we'll keep flooding you with the photographs, Jen. There's lots of, we've got a great weekend ahead planned.
Yeah, I'm coming. For those of you watching this, I live in Atlanta and my sister lives in South Africa. So that's a good 16, 17-hour flight, if not a good 2 flights, 24 hours. So there's a lot of distance, but we do lots of virtual catch-ups. So final question. If there was one thing you could tell somebody today who is listening and they have just found out that they have got cancer, what would that be?
I've thought long and hard about this question, because it goes back to when you've just found out, you're not going to listen to what someone's going to tell you on a video clip. You're going to feel like the bottom of your world has fallen out. So I think, we all watched Night Birdie, who was that singer on America's Got Talent, and she said, "It's okay." She sang a song called "It's Okay." And I think in the whirlwind of getting a diagnosis, know that it's okay. You will navigate through the mess of it all, and you will muddle your way through it all, and you will find ways to hold on to real gems of moments. Like yesterday, we decided to go for a walk last minute, and we saw the most exquisite sunset that under any other circumstances I might have missed. So seize the moment, live the day. And if I could just say to anyone, I hold on to my spiritual side has grown phenomenally. I have to give God the credit, because I really believe that God has helped me and strengthened me through this difficult time. To anybody who might be watching this and someone you love has been diagnosed with cancer, please don't tell them you've got this, because no one's got this. The only person who's got this is God. And God has really helped me. He's opened my eyes to certain things, and he's helped me navigate through some really difficult, crazy days where you just don't feel like you're going to win. So it's okay. It's a really weird thing that I'd like to leave at the end of this. Having cancer, you can still live. It's okay.
Yeah. That's so amazing, because I'm choking up now, but
sorry, I didn't mean to make anyone cry.
When Garth was diagnosed with cancer, most of you out there will know, my husband had lung cancer. Somebody sent me a short clip on YouTube. It's about a minute or two, and it's about, it's okay. And I forwarded it to so many people, and it seems to, that is just, whatever happens, whatever the outcome is, it's okay.
It's okay.
So, on that note, I just want to say I'm so proud of you. You're my sister, and I adore you, and love you to the moon and back.
Love you
and
to the moon and back and moon.
Anyone out there, I just have to say, I am not a doctor. I am just a health coach, just a mom, a wife walking alongside people. I'm not here to diagnose or treat. But if you want to reach out to me and we can share with you what Carol has done in the holistic approach, the whole food supplements, please do. I'll happily share that with you, and very welcome to reach out. I am on Instagram, Jen Lives Healthy, and a Facebook group called Live Healthy. My full name, Jenni-Lee Basson, and please feel free to also message me on my website, jenliveshealthy.com.
Jen, thank you. Before you end off, I just want to also just add to anybody watching this. I couldn't have navigated through the chemo and the journey without Jen's support. So even though she's my sister, she really helped me and educated me on how to, for example, I wasn't getting enough nutrition, and how to bulk up my nutrition, how to add things, crazy things like, I don't know, chicken livers, and eat bone broth and things to mash. Because at one stage I couldn't stomach anything but mashed potato, and that's not nutritious. You know, add your chicken liver pate or something like that. And you know, take the time, maybe set up a consult with Jen. She really helped me navigate through the stuff that I didn't even have time to research, you know, how to fatten up, how to eat healthy, how to navigate through some of the stuff. And Jen, you've been an amazing support. So thank you for that.
Oh, love you. Thanks for your time, everyone. And thanks, Carol, for your time. Love you loads.
Love you too. Thanks.